welcome to the Domain Name Wire podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Alleman, and this is episode number 552. My guest this week has had lots of success selling brandable domains. And after a multi-year hiatus buying new domains, he came back in a big way this year, registering 1,800 domains in short order. Michael Rader talks about how he got into domain investing, selling his first domains on eBay. When he sold a domain on BrandBucket, he took that money and used it to create his own competing brandable marketplace, Brandroot, which he later turned around and sold to BrandBucket. On today's show, you'll hear these stories and learn more about what types of domains Michael buys, how much he sells them for, and more. Stay tuned for that. First, a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor this week is Salve.com and its for sale pages. If you're tired of paying high commissions when domains sell through your landers, switch to Salve and save. Pay just a 4% commission. It's super easy to list, and if domains are at Salve, they transfer instantly. They also offer fast payouts. In fact, if you sell a lot of domains at Salve, they even offer instant payouts. Learn more and start selling your domains at Salve. Go to salve.com/DNW/sell. That's SAV.com/DNW/sell. Let's go through some news in the domain business from the past week before we chat with Michael. There was some late-breaking news last week. The Wall Street Journal reported on Friday that private equity firm CVC Capital Partners is buying Namecheap in a deal that values the domain registrar at $1.5 billion. Outspoken Namecheap CEO and founder Richard Kirkendall will remain a large shareholder. The deal includes both Namecheap and Spaceship. It's just the latest private equity deal in the space, following Squarespace going private last year. I'll be very curious to see what impact this has on the company. Private equity companies have a tried and true playbook for maximizing value. I'm also curious what role Kirkendall will play in decisions going forward. For example, Richard has been in a tiff and rivalry with GoDaddy for a while, and I wonder if the new ownership will cool down this, let's call it, war of words between the two. In other news, security consulting firm InterIsle published its annual phishing landscape report last week. It names and shames domain registries and registrars. On a per capita basis, the company said the worst top-level domains for usage in phishing attacks were .shin, that's XIN, .bond, .help, .win, and .cfd. These domains all have something in common in that they're dirt cheap for first-year registrations. The report named Nicenik, Aceville, Dominet, that's an Alibaba registrar, Webnik, an own registrar, as the 5 registrars with the highest incidence of phishing domains. Speaking of spammy domains, Google reiterated its advice to avoid spammy top-level domains in a post on Reddit. Read more about that on Domain Name Wire in a story from September 8th. Well, Freename has launched its ICANN accredited domain registrar, which will sell domains like .com next to Freename's blockchain-based names. It's just the latest Web3 domain business to adopt main root domain names. And if you're looking for a volunteer position, Public Interest Registry has opened the applications and nominations for its advisory council. The group, which is separate from its board of directors, meets 4 times per year. Details and the application form for the unpaid positions are at pir.com/AC-nominations. That's pir.com/AC-nominations. There's more to read at Domain Name Wire, including several reverse domain name hijacking cases involving a male strip troupe, a gold bullion dealer, and an AI company. Now, let's chat with Michael Rader. My guest this week is domain investor Michael Rader. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Michael, tell me how you got into domain investing.
So, at the time, I was going to school for web development, and I was also working at the DMV. I remember running into this guy I worked with, and I asked him why he was still here doing this job when he had also gone to school for web development. And he just looked at me and said something like, I couldn't keep up. Tech just moves too fast and the software never stops changing. And instead, he got a safer job and started his own side hustle, cooking food in his own kitchen and delivering it around San Diego. He'd leave like coupons and flyers all over the city to attract buyers. And honestly, I just found that super admirable. Like, here's this guy who could have got better about his situation, but instead he's hustling out of his own kitchen. I even ordered from him a couple of times and the food was great. And he was a great guy. And that just stuck with me because part of me admired his grit, but another part of me was like, man, this is going to be me. Or man, is this going to be me? Am I going to tap out of this industry one day because it's too fast? It felt just very possible. And now at the same time, I had a handful of domains I was obsessed with, all.com. And I say obsessed because they probably weren't worth anything to anyone else. But to me, yeah, they felt super valuable. It's like having pets you don't want to give up. They're not making you money, but you love them. And if someone ever wanted them, there's got to be a price that makes it worth saying goodbye.
Right.
And actually, that idea is one that makes me confident that domaining is a real business, especially in the brandable space where we're creating names we value, not just taking existing ideas. So anyway, I wanted to see if I could sell some of these domains. When I started looking around, I came across people on eBay selling domains with logo designs. I thought that was such a novel and interesting approach. And I was also doing logo design at the time. So I thought, why not? And then sold a few. Then got into 4-letter domains.
When was this, Michael, approximately?
2011 or 12, something like that.
Got it. Okay. So you sold a couple on eBay.
Yeah, then I sold a few. Then I got into 4-letter domains, buying some cheap ones off eBay. And that's when I stumbled across BrandBucket after making an offer on one of their 4-letter names, which was rejected. And I opened a seller account, started listing, and slowly the sales started rolling in. So really, my entry into domaining was this weird collision. One guy telling me the industry moves too fast, and me sitting there with names I valued, even if nobody else did. And selling those names was the thing that calmed my worries. And eventually it led to Brandroot. And that's when everything really started taking off.
Right. So you started your own brandable marketplace called Brandroot. And so when was that approximately?
Early 2012.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I entered domaining, man, probably 2010, 11. And then soon after selling at BrandBucket, I launched Brandroot on the side.
Okay. And so you're still at the DMV at this point?
Yeah. So I left the DMV.
Okay.
And at this point, I left the DMV and I landed a web and graphic design job in San Diego. And at the same time, I was still selling domains at BrandBucket and trying to push Brandroot forward on the side. And let's just say I wasn't exactly model employee material there. There was a couple of times I showed up over 3 hours late. One Saturday, I was at a street entrepreneur event handing out flyers for Brandroot. And back then it was actually called Bernard and Key with a business partner who didn't last. And while I was there, my web design job called me about an IT emergency. And I told them, sorry, I can't come in. I'm at this event. And they just weren't impressed. So between me being late and then they fired me soon after. And that was early 2012. And honestly, I didn't even take it as bad news. I remember thinking, well, guess this is it. I'm never working for someone else again. And that's exactly what happened. I started collecting unemployment while I worked towards my own goals.
Okay. And so you had sold a few domains on BrandBucket. So why did you decide to start Brandroot, which in some ways was a competitor, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. So with BrandBucket, there were rules I didn't like. The big one, I couldn't list my names anywhere else. And they also knew about Brandroot and made a stink about it. Like when I listed domains at Brandroot that sold at BrandBucket, they told me to stop doing that. When a domain sold at BrandBucket, I would mark it as a sold domain at Brandroot. I thought it was perfectly fine because it was my company, Brandroot, who sold the domain, even though it was at BrandBucket. So I used those sales from BrandBucket to boost Brandroot in a way so visitors could see I was selling domains.
Okay.
And yeah.
So in Brandroot was effectively the same type of setup, right? It was, brandable domains. You had logos, that sort of thing on. And could third-party sellers list their domains there?
Not initially, not when it was this side project. It was just my domain names that I had at BrandBucket. Nothing was set up to do that. Eventually, when I left BrandBucket, I opened up to other sellers, but I was very strict about it. They had to actually submit their domains to show me that they had enough brandables or knew what brandables were before I opened their account and they could start listing the domains for review.
So you started building up Brandroot and you had your names on there. Then you left BrandBucket. So you stopped listing on their side. And this was because of some of their rules that you didn't like?
Yeah. So I told myself, if I ever make a big enough sell here at BrandBucket, I'm out of here. And then it happened. I sold a $10,000 name or around that price. And that gave me the launch pad I needed. I took that sell money plus the unemployment checks I was getting after being fired. and I worked extra hard on Brandroot. And within just a few months, it was running strong enough that I canceled those unemployment checks. And I don't want to, and I don't want that to sound like a side note. That was a huge moment. That was the day I proved to myself that domaining could sustain me. No boss, no unemployment, just me, my sales, my business. That was the line in the sand, and I'll never forget that.
That's exciting. At that point, then you become kind of a full-time domain investor. But then eventually you sold out to BrandBucket, right? Not out. Let's not say that. You sold to BrandBucket. You sold Brandroot to BrandBucket. And that was, 5 or so years later in 2019. Why did you do that?
Yeah, so from there, Brandroot took off. I became an authority in the brandable space pretty quickly. I ranked number one for terms like business name generator and even just business names. And we even landed a backlink from harvard.edu, which was like rocket fuel for SEO. And that was also the time I got married. My wife and I moved to Kona, Hawaii. We had 2 kids there. Life was good, but Brandroot was also heavy to run by myself. A couple of times, BrandBucket and I had talked about them buying me out, but it never worked out. Then in 2019, I got hit with a negative SEO attack. A guy I had hired, I left him a bad review. Not even bad, just 3 stars instead of 5. And he retaliated. And not just with bad words online, but with thousands of spammy backlinks pointing to Brandroot, links from shady sites, even adult sites. He made it look like I was doing black hat SEO tactics, like I was trying to trick Google by spamming the web with garbage links. And Google bought it. Rankings at Brandroot dropped pretty hard. And by that point, I was just burned out. Running it alone was draining. And that was the last straw. So I told BrandBucket in 2019. So I sold BrandBucket in 2019. And after that, I basically disappeared for 2 years and didn't work at all.
So you sold Brandroot to BrandBucket. Did you sell your portfolio as well?
Luckily, no. The offer they gave me was good enough that I was happy with just the marketplace side of things. And honestly, I didn't even expect to keep my domains, but I did. And that portfolio floated me for years after the sale. Back then, I had around 6,000 to 7,000 domains.
6,000 to 7,000. Okay. How many do you have now, approximately?
I'm working my way back up. Right now I have exactly 5,390.
Okay. I want to walk through kind of the evolution of that because, so you sold this in 2019. You kept your portfolio. And recently you posted on X your kind of sales through the years. So you said 2020, you had 152 sales. 2021, it went down to 141. And both of those years you were listing, where were you selling domains then shortly after you sold Brandroot?
It was all basically on BrandBucket. We had a deal where I would still list all my domains there. I couldn't compete for 3 years. So they were all just listed at BrandBucket at the time that I sold it. And so during that break that I took off, I let thousands of names expire, or I sold them wholesale if I didn't think they had end user potential. And I got down to around 3,500 names. And then just a few months ago, I started buying again, mostly hand-registered expiring brandables, and I've picked up over 1,800 so far.
1,800 in the past few months.
Yeah, a little too fast, probably.
Have you sold any of them yet?
I have not. Yeah, I'm just being patient. It's only been 3 months. I'm giving it, a good 90 days or so before I start to work.
But I mean, you know what sells, right? Because you have previous names that you've registered of the same ilk, if you will. Those have been selling, right?
Yes, and I built my own Python scripts that use AI to find the best dropping names. A lot of this looks at the previous 2,000 names that I sold at Brandroot and throughout my domaining career.
Interesting. You're basically telling AI, here's what I've sold before, here's what's expiring or becoming available. Find me ones that kind of are of the, follow the same patterns, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of it. It's actually like this multi-step process. I have one. It's probably like 15 different scripts that I run through, and that's one of them.
Interesting. And to keep your costs low for those 1,800, where are you registering them?
I was at GoDaddy. I get I think it's called reseller prices. They dropped the taxes too. It's like 1024 total. But then I went to Dynadot, who had that deal going on. I forget which month. It was a summer deal they had for like $5. So I registered tons during that. So yeah, mostly anywhere from $8 to $10, something like that.
Right. But that's a serious outlay that you've made here. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. But as you know, it can take a while for a name to sell, right? I mean, and just the evidence of that, you weren't buying for a while, but you sold, 152 names in 2020. Your portfolio is getting smaller, 141 in 2021. And then, I mean, you still had, let's see here, it says in 2022, you had 111 sales. And you noted on X that year, you also started listing on Adam. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Squad help at the time. Yeah. I started listing there because BrandBucket was just not coming through. I had a couple just desperate months and I gave them warning. I was like, I have to leave. You're not selling anything. It was like 3 months of nothing. And yeah, it was that December, I think December 30th of 2020. What did I say? 2022 that I moved everything to Adam, Squad help.
And how have the results been there?
At first, it was really good. I was kind of one of the newer sellers. They didn't have tons of sellers back then. They were popping off like crazy. Over the years, they've just been slowly getting worse. Now they're, well, not worse, but
they have more inventory to compete against yours, right?
Yeah, far more inventory.
Yeah.
It started reaching around 80 domains a year. It's about where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah. So, about 70 in 23, 78 in 2024. Let's see, when was this post here? You had you noted 36 sales this was in July, I guess, middle of July. So you're kind of keeping to that clip though, where you think it'll be around 70, 80 sales for the year, excluding any sales from your new purchases?
Yes, I just sold a few actually since this post. I'm at close to 60. I sold 2 yesterday and actually just sold one right before getting on this call. Alquora.com, AQUORA, I think it was. AQUORA.com. So yeah, I'm still selling. I'm at 60. I'm pretty sure I'll get to 80.
Yeah, if you're at 60 now, that would make sense that you would get to 80 by the end of the year. And where are you selling? You mentioned you're on Adam. Are you also selling these domains elsewhere?
Yes, I have everything primarily listed on Adam. If they approve for premium, if they get rejected for premium, I point them to Afternic. All of my domains are also at Afternic, but if they're rejected there, they're pointed to Afternic. And I also have everything listed at Spaceship to see how that goes.
Yeah, how's that going so far for you?
Nothing yet. No bites, no offers, no leads, no sales.
But to be clear, your domains aren't pointing there. You've just listed them, right? So they're showing up in the search path. Yeah, I recently did that as well to see if that drives any sales. So you're sitting here, you kind of start this year, you're aiming for about 80 sales. Why did you decide to build up the portfolio again?
Why did I decide to build up again?
Why did you feel now is kind of the time to build up your portfolio again after letting it shrink for a while?
So it shrank for a while because I entered the crypto. So during my break, I entered the crypto space. I made a big bet in the crypto area in multiple ways. I bought some miners. I built an application. I did all kinds of things in crypto. And most of it were just massive failures. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm getting totally distracted from what I was good at. I was just super upset at myself that all this time I wasted in crypto, I could have been investing in more domains and just building that up. And I don't know if you know Sten Lillestrom.
Yeah.
He started on Brandroot basically with me around the same time. I had more domains than he did. And I just look at his path, how well he's done, how many domains he has. And I felt like crap that I just let this kind of fall on the wayside instead of pursuing it like he did.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So I just jumped back into it.
Jump back in. Both feet first. Feet first, right? So your strategy then, you've got these Python scripts. You're looking at the domains that you sold previously and having these scripts and using AI. And, you just mentioned one of your domains that's sold, but you kind of focus, it's true brandable. I mean, I guess there are multiple types of brandable. There's the 2-word brands that go together, but it sounds like for the most part, what you've been registering lately are 6-7 letter pronounceable domains?
Yes. Yeah. So I have 2 scripts. One of the scripts, the ending script ends up with double invented keyword brandables, and the other one is just purely invented brandables. And I go through both of those. I used to spend probably 2 to 4 hours researching for these brandables until I built these scripts, which shaved tons of time off. Now it's down to 20 minutes or so per day.
Wow. So they deliver a list of prospects to you, and then you manually choose from there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm super proud of these scripts. I don't know if anyone else has made something like them. They're solid and they're saving me tons of time every day, but they do cost me money to run. And that's why I launched domaineriq.com to share the list.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's to share the lists with others and offset the cost of those. Enough people have joined already that it now pays for itself.
Yeah. So when you say cost, you're talking about like AI tokens and that sort of thing?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's the cost.
So Domainer IQ, you share this with them. You do other stuff though too. It's almost like a live class, if you will.
On top of that, I've been making videos, some for beginners, some for advanced domainers. And the plan is to eventually have full courses that cover everything from finding brandables, scoring them, advanced and domain investing strategies. The plan is to at least finish one video per week.
Okay. And it looks like it's, well, if you go to domaineriq.com, it forwards there, but it looks like it's just $8 a month to join?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you get access to that. It says you have 42 members already. When did you launch this?
Just a couple of months ago.
Okay.
It's yeah, I'm surprised that I have 40 members. It's awesome. And there's a lot of conversation happening in there. A lot of people help each other in there. It's been a cool community.
Good, good. I was just looking at your X post too, just to kind of give people an idea here. You know, you sold 78.coms last year, 266,000 in revenue, you said. So it's a substantial six-figure business. And I assume you're kind of landing on about that much this year as well, right?
Yes, but that was before commissions and before renewals and before everything else. I make around 16,000 per month after commissions, but before renewals. My renewals are all over the place.
Right.
So it costs anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 per month.
Okay. And, you know, kind of thinking about that, though, I mean, that's a solid clip. You're doing this on your own. It's your business, right? You don't have anything else. I think that's where a lot of domain investors would strive to be. Do you find it consistent with your portfolio size now of, let's see, where did you say you are now?
I'm at 50 around 5,400 domains.
5,400, including those 1,800 that you recently registered. So, and since you haven't sold any of those yet, you know, let's subtract those out. So just for now, right? So 54, 44. So, you know, 3,500 names or so, let's say, that you're driving these 80 sales on. But 80, you know, just doing the quick math, you know, you're at what, eight a month? Well, fewer than that, right? Six a month, and typically.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm at around 2.2% ADR.
Okay. I mean, that's really strong.
If I subtract those
1,800.
those newer
We're going to set those aside as its own portfolio. And in a year, you're going to talk about how you're rocking with those, right? So it does take time, right? If it's available to hand register right now, someone probably hasn't thought about it recently. So that can have an impact. How do you price your domains, Michael?
Man, right now, I'm really just depending on Adam's suggested pricing. Adam is a data-driven company, and I really trust how they're pricing domains. Just because I've been there so long, they're keeping me successful, and they have tons of data, and I think they're probably pricing pretty accurately.
These are mostly in the four figures, then I assume, where they're pricing your names.
Usually 3,000 to 5,000.
3 to 5, which is kind of the sweet spot for most people. Excellent. I'm also looking through some of your all-time sales here. It looks like you had some big ones, you know, dating back to sales on BrandBucket, After Nick and Adam. Well, I mean, even this year, you've had a couple of nice ones on Adam, right?
Yeah, RoadLink was a good one that sold this year, but they paid around $5,000 into that domain until they canceled the LTO.
That was an LTO.
Yeah.
And that was an LTO for about $30,000. Well, you got $5,000 of free money, though, but I'm sure the $30,000. So what is your LTO strategy? What kind of time frame do you allow people to pay over?
Right now, it's just been on 24 months across all my domains.
Okay.
Pretty much. There are a few they have an option, I think, at Adam to choose anywhere from 6 to 24. But
right.
So often they'll choose 6 or 12. But a lot of the domains I've been selling at After Nick have been 24-month LTO.
And you also have a couple others on Adam here. MagicHome.com this year for $30,000. Was that an LTO or an upfront payment?
No, that was a buy it now. And that's actually where I used most of that to buy these 1,800 domains.
Okay. Yeah.
Which have cost me $20,000.
And then flashcloud.com, $22,000 this year at Adam as well. And then just some of your all-time hippie.com, you sold back on BrandBucket for close to $80,000. Looks like your top sale on Afternic was Trive, TRIVE.com for just over $70,000 as well. So occasionally you have those kind of bigger 5-figure sales, which then of course lift the 4-figure sales, right? Which is your more typical sale.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yes.
Any other projects you're working on other than Domainer IQ?
There's a few things, just small projects. I'm vibe coding. I'm working on a wholesale website for Domainer IQ. So Domainer IQ members can go wholesale their domains on this platform. I developed nameflyer.com just to create flyers for your domain sales so they have a nice presentation on X when you post them. I'm pretty much the only person that uses that.
but it's kind of neat. Like if you go and you put like where the domain where you sold it, maybe the whole time and how much you got for it.
Yeah, exactly. All the details, and it spits out a nice poster.
Nice graphic
for
that you
yourself.
can put on there. So yeah. For those that like to show off their sales, you can check out nameflyer.com as well. And then domainerIQ.com, where you get access to the list that Michael's generating from his scripts, and then also some other educational material, live streams or recorded videos, that sort of thing. So cool. It's always great to hear stories of domain investors who were working and then they were able to go out full time in domain investing. I think even today, most domain investors are certainly not full time, right? It's kind of a part time gig for them. So congratulations, and thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
My guest this week has been Michael Rader. Really fascinating story. Appreciate Michael coming on the show. That's a wrap on this week's Domain Name Wire podcast. You can listen to all previous episodes at dnw.com/podcast or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening.